And it says we're live.
We're live.
We made it. We made it.
Woo!
We made it back. We took a short break, guys, but we made it back.
Sorry for the long awaited.
Shit happens, man. Shit happens. But we're here. We're back. We're here to give you guys some more stories to feast your brain. I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm trying to share shit right now, and I've got like 3 cups of coffee like pulsing through my brain right now. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Oh, why can't I share? Why can't I share? More options. Let's go. Come on. Oh, whatever. Screw you. Screw you, computer. Anyway, I'll get back to it. Anyway, guys, this week we're going to be talking about cold cases solved by DNA technology. Stuff that's been out for a little while, but has become more and more advanced over the years, and it's become more of public knowledge over the years. Some things that they've been using to, I guess, aid in this technology are things like 23andMe. What's that other one that's out there?
Ancestry DNA or the family tree one. I can't think of it right now, but those are big helpers for cold cases, because you got to think they can pull if any family member of anybody goes and is in that system, they're in a database. So once they've got that, they can just turn around and connect you to your family members through that. And what do you know? There's no more hiding anymore for the most part, but
the thing is, though, is like, so they say is that you have to be consensual to it. You have to kind of opt into allowing your information to be public domain, public domain, whatever you want to call it. And there's a lot of, I guess you call them labs, technology labs out there. One's Body, there's Codex, there's just a lot of different. Yeah, there's just a lot of different ones. Some of them are obviously more popular than others in solving crimes. But before we get into that, I actually want to give some updated news on a case we just covered a month ago, maybe. The Lori and Chad Daybell case.
Ooh.
Yeah, I guess the prosecutors in the Chad Daybell case are actually going to seek the death penalty for Chad Daybell.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What about the mom, though?
She is actually still in a mental health facility because she's not fit to stand trial right now. Yeah. So they sent her off to like a mental hospital to get her back to her mental state. And so then so when she's actually fit to be on trial, then that's when they're going to pursue it. But to me, it's like, this bitch is just buying time. That's all she's doing, is just buying time.
Buying time. That's all she's doing. I don't know how a mother in her right mind could do something like that.
Yeah, it's just not only to your own child, because the other one was an adopted child.
Yeah.
But he was autistic too, and he was just a little boy. It's like, oh my God, are you serious? And then to, her past husband's mysterious deaths.
Her brother's mysterious deaths.
Her brother's mysterious murders. I like that. Dr. Ebert. But yeah, they said that they feel that Chad Daybell would actually be a threat to society if he went to jail for, let's just say, as an example, like if he got 25 to life with the possibility of parole and they paroled him and he got out, they feel that this is something he would continue to do.
He would become the next Manson, I have a feeling, just with the religious and how he was all about his way of thinking. I think that's what they fear. I can see that.
Yeah, and Lori as well, because she's quite a manipulator. She's got a way about whatever it is that Barbie is doing. She's good at it,
right?
So, and I honestly, I'm kind of on the fence with the death penalty. But I think in this case, because I just try to do it case by case on how I feel about it. In this case, I feel they both absolutely deserve it. Yeah.
Oh yes.
So I guess we'll see what happens there. I guess he's gonna be going back. More stuff's gonna be happening in September, which is in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see what happens then. But I just thought I'd bring that up. Some stuff that we covered here a while back.
Yeah.
Craziness. Yeah. So you ready to get into today's bullshit?
I am so ready when you are.
It's not bullshit. This is awesome shit. This is really awesome shit.
It's awesome to an extent, though. There's some
Right.
things I'll get into later that just make me so disgusted with our judicial system. It's ridiculous. But that being said,
yeah. But the awesome shit is because I love science, I love technology, and this shit has just become so far advanced. It's just ridiculous. I'll get a little into what DNA technology is that they're doing right now. It's basically when a suspect or a victim's DNA is put into a genealogy database, like we said, like the 23andMe, the Ancestry.com. There's other ones as well that you can submit yours to make it accessible to, law enforcement and other agencies to be able to use it to help aid in solving cold cases. And then basically what they do is like a reverse engineering on your DNA. They kind of backtrack it and they link it to other people that are in the system as well, so that they can find a close enough match to that submitted DNA in the crime. And they go back through your family tree, which I think is really cool because they've caught a lot of people. They caught the Joseph D'Angelo, the Golden State Killer here in California a few years ago. Samuel Little, which is one of the most prolific serial killers in history. And to me, he is one of the most, I don't want to say he's my favorite because I don't like putting that, he's my favorite. But to me, he's one of the most fascinating. It's one of the most fast. Yeah. And I would really like to cover him at some point. He actually passed away earlier this year in prison. But they caught him with the same kind of DNA technology. So the story, I guess we'll call it a story, the case that I picked up here is actually fairly recent. Not that it happened, but being solved was fairly recent. It was actually solved June 25th of this year, 2021. And it is currently the oldest cold case solved by DNA technology.
Wow.
This one dates back to June 2nd of 1956 in Great Falls, Montana. 18-year-old Dwayne, and I apologize if I say any names wrong, Dwayne Bogle. He was a U.S. Air Forceman from Texas who had been stationed in Great Falls, Montana, where he met a 16-year-old high schooler named Patricia Kalitsky, and he instantly fell in love with her. He was just like, I love this woman. I want her the rest of my life. And one night they went out on a date, and they were last seen at a drive-in restaurant just after 9 o'clock that night. Afterwards, they went and parked at a Lover's Lane west of Great Falls near Wadsworth Park. And the next day, Dwayne was actually discovered by three young hikers.
There you go.
His car was left running, the lights and the radio were still on, and he was outside of the car with a gunshot to his head, and his hands were bound behind his back with his own belt.
Wow.
And there was no sign of Patricia. So they started putting out the word that, this girl's gone. She never made it home last night either. We got to look for her. The next day, she was actually discovered by a Cascade County road worker. He found her dumped at the bottom of a gravel road.
Oh, wow.
She had been sexually assaulted and was also shot in the head. Ugh. That I don't know, just reading and listening to true crime stuff, face stuff and head stuff is usually a very personal kind of deal.
Very much so.
But I guess this one really wasn't. And I'll get into that in a minute. But authorities interviewed and cleared over 36 people, including the notorious gangster James Whitey Bulger. Because, right? Yeah,
no
your
way.
face was my face too. I was like, yes, holy crap, are you serious? But I guess there, 5 years prior to this murder, Whitey Bulger had already been arrested for a rape in that area. So they automatically were like, hey, we got to get this asshole in here and interview him and see where he was the night, because he's already kind of been on record for this.
Exactly.
But they cleared him already. They, even though like this technology wasn't a thing at the time, they still like tried to collect things as much as they could for evidence. So they took a vaginal swab because they found semen inside of her. Yeah. And they, you know, kind of saved it. And in 2001, it was submitted because the technology at the time, you know, we could determine who's, you know, who it belonged to at that time. Yeah. Even though it wasn't advanced as it is now. They took a swab, and then in 2001, they submitted it and declared that it was not Dwayne's semen. Like, so they had not had sex. So then that kind of like, I guess, solidified that it was for sure a rape, and maybe they just didn't have sex before, kind of deal.
Yeah.
And then a new investigator took over the case in 2012, and he wasn't getting very far on it. And then 6 years later, there was, you know, a big break in this technology because they had just caught Joseph D'Angelo, like I said earlier, the Golden State Killer. So this gave him a lot of hope. So then he was like, hey, I'm going to submit this. And he submitted it to the body technologies. And when he submitted it, 3 people with compatible DNA came up. So they had 3 people who had similar DNA to this sample that they submitted. One of those men was named Kenneth Gould. At the time, he was a 29-year-old resident of Great Falls, Montana, when the murders happened. They took a DNA swab from his kids, and it made a perfect match. So they knew automatically, this is our guy. This is the guy who did it. But unfortunately, May 31st of 2007, he actually passed away in Missouri. I think they said he was like 79 or something like that, because he was born in 27. So I don't know the math right now, but looking at his background, because of course they're still going to go back and look at his life and everything like that, even though he's not around. They found that he had no criminal record before or after the murder. So he was like a pretty clean guy. That he did work in corralling horses a few blocks away from Patricia. But they found no link to him at all. Like, they didn't know each other.
Yeah.
But after a month after the murders happened, he sold his property and took his family and started moving around Montana. And he had a 2-month-old daughter at the time. I don't know if he had any other children, but I know he had a 2-month-old daughter. They moved around to a couple of places in Montana and then ended up leaving the state and went to Missouri. They moved to Alton, Missouri. And then, yeah, that's about it. Like, that's all there was. I was watching some other segments, news segments, because, like I said, it's fairly recent. They were interviewing a bunch of his neighbors out in Missouri, and they were like, we would have never believed. We still don't believe that he would have been capable of doing this. He didn't drink. He didn't do drugs. He didn't start problems.
Wow.
He was like the perfect neighbor. He had property. Yeah. He had property in Missouri, and he raised like goats and horses. He was a horse trainer. And just everybody was just very, very shocked that this was even a thing that he could even contemplate. Like, they were like, no fucking way. You're like, no. This couldn't have happened.
Not you.
But exactly. But yeah, so I mean, that it's crazy that, you know, this happened in 1956. I mean, a little past, you know, because it happened in June 2nd, and they didn't solve it until June 25th of this year.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's fucking nuts, dude.
Now
That's
I have to ask, was he charged with that final murder, or was he not charged when they finally, and I know you said the years, but my brain's like, but I wasn't sure if they were able to get a conviction on him before he passed.
No, because he passed away in 2007.
That's right.
So he's already been dead for like 13 or 14 years.
Exactly.
Before they solved this.
And that's the part that makes me disgusted, okay? Me being a prior military spouse, if you're in the military and say decades down the road, because the military does their own investigations on stuff and incidents that happen, wartime stuff. But if it comes out that you earned another medal, whether you're dead or not, you get that honor.
Yeah.
Or whatever the case may be. Even if it was something you did that, you still get that put on your file.
Mm-hmm.
What boggles my mind is most of these cold cases, they're not the first cases these people have committed. You know what I mean? And that's not the first crimes they've committed. For me, it just makes me sick to know that they can't charge them, even though they're dead, with the crime that they actually have physical DNA evidence for.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it boggles
they
my mind. And I get it to an extent, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like, come on, if you can update somebody's information once they're gone and bump them up to, whatever the next rank or whatever, I don't care. Even in civilian world, you done some bad stuff. I'm sorry. I would want it put somewhere that you did it if the evidence shows so. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, they can't necessarily like I don't know, because I don't mark a grave or something, but he was cremated when he passed away. So that's one of the reasons why they had to get like DNA from his kids and all that other stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like they could like dig him up and like burn his body and say, you don't deserve a proper burial kind of deal.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, still, even put it on paper somewhere that, yes, he's convicted of it because he committed it, but it was after his death. You know what I mean? Just put an after death clause. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get you.
It should still be known what you've done. You know what I mean? Especially because a lot of these, like this one here, the first one that I have, I have 5 total. I don't know if we'll have enough time for all of them, but I'll get started.
And if I cut out, I'll be right back. I promise.
Oh, yeah. I'll keep talking. Trust me, I'm good at that. All right. So my first case is a cold case from Canada. The victim's name was Christine Jessup, I believe is how you pronounce it. Again, forgive me if I murder anybody's names. It's not my intentions.
No pun intended, giggity.
On October 3rd of 1984, she was kidnapped. However, the story goes, she was left at home while her mom and her brother had went to visit her dad, Bod is his name, in jail. 3 months later, her body was found. Nobody knew what happened to her. They just knew she was gone. She was kidnapped. They didn't know anything about it. 3 months later, when her body was found, she was assaulted and stabbed. A year after that, his name is Guy, so forgive me with that. Neighbor Guy.
The neighbor guy.
The neighbor guy. He was arrested 9 years later. Mm-hmm. He was convicted and given a life sentence. Given life 18 months after 18 months in prison. The DNA testing was found that he was not the killer and he was released.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so neighbor guy gets locked up for this. And 9 years later was actually convicted of it. He spent 18 months in prison. Once they figured it out, they released him. He got $1.25 million in settlement.
Damn,
for wrongful imprisonment. 3 out of 300 men, because when they did her autopsy, they did have some DNA evidence. They sat on it, being that it was 84, that was kind of the beginning stages of DNA kind of being held on to for the most part. You know what I mean? They knew it was going to get better, but it wasn't the greatest yet still.
Yeah.
So out of 300, they tested 300 other men after this guy is released. The case went cold in 1998. Then in October of 2020, a new suspect found by DNA, family ancestry, Calvin Hoover, who was never a suspect. At the time of her death, she was, I think, she was 9 years old when she was murdered. So she was a young girl.
Damn.
She was left home. You know, her mom and brother went to go see dad. They did it once or twice, and I guess she wasn't feeling good that morning, so she just stayed home. Well, they never suspected it, but at the time, Calvin Hoover, a friend of the family, when her case first happened, he was there. He went on search parties to find her. He went to the funeral and her wake as well. He later committed suicide. I couldn't find out when he had committed the suicide, but they know he killed her, but he can't be charged because he's dead.
Wow.
They know his DNA evidence was on her, and they can't do anything about it because he's already passed.
Damn.
That kind of stuff makes me sick.
Yeah.
And then the next case I have here is Carla Jane Walker.
That one sounds familiar. That name does anyway.
It's from Texas. She was 46 years old. 46 years old. For 46 years, her death went unsolved. Forgive me.
Oh, wow.
She was on February 16th, 1964, she was getting ready for a Valentine's Day dance with her boyfriend in Fort Worth, Rodney McCoy, a year older than her. So they're high school age. They're getting ready for the high school dance. And from what friends had said, they had had a great time together. They took a couple of nips from a flask. They smoked some pot, all while at the dance. You know, having a good time.
Being kids.
They said at the dance, they left early to go have dinner. Just her boyfriend, and a couple other friends. After they went to dinner, they then went to the bowling alley. You know, a lot of just hopping around, you know, stuff you do after formals and stuff. They said they were making out and cuddling, and a stranger walked up to the boyfriend's car and opened up the door. Carla fell out. Rodney heard gunfire, and the gun was not loaded. Oh, I'm sorry. Carla fell out, and Rodney had heard gunfire, but the gun was not loaded.
That's weird.
But he was hit, and Carla was missing. Blood went, sorry. Nah.
How much coffee have you had today, Des? So how much coffee have you had today?
I'm That's
how my brain feels today. Too much fucking caffeine.
Yeah, and mine probably the lack thereof. He said that he went to her family's house to get her dad, and he asked her, or asked the boyfriend, what the heck happened? You know, like, what's going on? The kid gave him a full description of the guy that came up to the car. White male, clean shaven, thin, and was wearing a white shirt with shiny green sleeves, sleeveless vest. So like a shiny vest without sleeves.
So like a worker's vest, or like a construction
kind of
vest?
Not, no, more of like a fancy like suit vest, just over a white button up.
Okay.
And a cowboy hat and jeans. So like he was getting ready to go out and night out on the town at the local honky tonk, basically.
Okay.
They're in Texas, you know. Texas cowboys, how they wear. How they wear their stuff. And the guy had a Texas accent. That's the awesome description that he gave his girlfriend's dad. Well, they looked for her. They couldn't find her. 3 days later, or she was found 3 days later. She was held for 24 to 36 hours and was assaulted and was given a lethal amount of morphine and strangled to death.
What?
Yes.
That's overkill at that point.
At that point, exactly. So the suspect they had was Glenn Samuel McCurley, I believe is how you pronounce it. They found rounds for the gun that he owned that matched the crime scene, or her body. He claims that his rifle or his weapon was stolen.
Convenient.
So for years, the case went cold. They had DNA in her and on her clothing. They held it until 2020.
Oh, wow.
When a full DNA profile was given for all three of the McClure brothers, because apparently he had two other brothers.
Okay.
The main suspect, Glenn. His DNA was a match for the blood on her bra, and he was charged for her murder.
Well, what about the inside sample?
They didn't really say much on that. He did speak from prison saying he was saving her. That her boyfriend was hitting on her. He pulled Carla into his car and gave her a hug and then kissed her. And supposedly that's all he ever saw of her.
But how did his blood get on her then? Like,
exactly.
That don't make a lick of sense.
And especially on her bra.
Yeah.
Granted, they were probably making out in the car, but why is your blood on her bra?
Yeah.
And he's like, I was just trying to save her, I'm innocent, this, that, and the other. All I did was pull her out of that situation. Well, come to find out, he had gotten into a fight with his wife.
Oh.
And was in a pissy mood and went to go have a good time to blow off some steam.
Okay.
Well, long story short, he found her and her boyfriend making out, stole her from him basically, and held her for 24 to 48 hours, torturing her.
Jeez, you cannot be that pissed off at your wife.
I'm
sorry, but you can. That's ridiculous. Lord, that's horrible.
But they went back and he was like, yeah, this, that, and the other. Now this one has very little details.
Okay.
With most of these cases, like I said, everything that has been found or any of the DNA evidence, all of their findings came from ancestry DNA or some type of thing like that, where the family was put in the database down the road, like a distant cousin or something. Mm-hmm. But they, like you said, they work backwards and they find the exact match. Mm-hmm. If they can, and then they bring that person in and, if they're alive, and go from there.
They're like, fingers crossed.
Right? So number 3 for me is Fawn Cox.
Excuse you?
Yeah, right? Fawn Cox. Or Cox. C-O-X. Not the other way.
Oh, you're like Fun Cox. I'm like, hey, this is not that kind of show, ma'am.
No.
That's after 10 o'clock at night, not 10 o'clock in the morning. God. Can't take you anywhere.
Hey, you can't take me anywhere. Look who I'm married to. Hello. All right. So this one was July 26th of 1989. 16-year-old Fawn had come home from work. Her little sister found her dead in her room the next morning. Someone had come in her room, had assaulted, then strangled her. A dog started barking at the time of the incident. Looking back when they questioned the sister and the family, their dog had started barking. However, to alert that somebody else was in the house. Because the dog was pregnant, the whole family was like, oh, she's just pregnant. She's getting ready to have pups. You know, she's just whining, and kind of blew it off, if you will, and explained away the noise. It was also very clear that her attacker knew her. They had evidence, just no way of testing it in 89.
Right.
It was believed that 3 teenagers were charged, but the charges were dropped and the case fell apart. Not enough evidence. One of the 3 teenagers, they didn't say their names or anything like that. One of them spent 8 months in jail.
Wow.
There was at the time, a $10,000 reward, but no clues ever came from him. 31 years later, there was still nothing. They couldn't find anything. Cold Case gets the file, and they didn't say what month it was, but this was 2020. Mm-hmm. FBI paid for the analysis. Her own cousin, Donald Cox Jr., was the one that had killed her.
No shit.
Her own cousin. He died from drug overdose shortly after it was found out.
Good for him.
Or shortly after the murder. They didn't say the exact year, so I'm assuming like 5-6 years after her murder. He had died from a drug overdose because he went downhill, because he's the one that did it.
That's a fucking plot twist right there.
No charges were ever filed on him. Nothing.
Fuck. At least he died of a drug overdose.
Exactly. And he didn't go easy. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. Anybody that harms another person in that way, to me, they don't deserve that anymore. They don't deserve that privilege of that by any means.
They're just fucking air hogs. That's all they are. They're just fucking.
They really are. At that time,
suckers.
They're just a waste of space.
Yeah, oxygen thieves. That's what they call it. They're
there we go.
Get out of the planet. Get out of here.
Right?
You don't deserve to be here.
You don't. So, my number 2 case, Margaret Peggy Beck. 56 years, her case went unsolved.
Jeez.
This is one of the older cases. I want to say this is like one of the first ones that was solved with the DNA. After the fact, of course. It says August of 1963, 16-year-old Girl Scout camp. Setting the scene for you.
Wow.
August 18th, she went to bed alone. So she's at Girl Scout camp. She's having a good time. She's enjoying being around her friends. She went to bed alone that night. Her tent mate got a cold, so she was sleeping in the infirmary. So nobody even knew what happened. So after her friend was sleeping in the infirmary, Peggy was 30 feet away from others when she didn't wake up for the last camp breakfast. So it was the day before they're getting ready to leave. You know, they're having their last hurrah. Her roommate got sick. She's like, I'm going to go sleep in the infirmary. I don't feel good. People were 30 feet from her, and she never woke up for that last morning breakfast. Her tent mate found her zipped in her sleeping bag. Oh. She would try to wake her up, but she wasn't waking up. They thought she had died of natural causes.
Which you might as well at that point, because
at that point you're zipped up in a sleeping bag at Girl Scout camp. Like, yeah. What the? No.
What's gonna happen to you out there? Like,
a broken nail?
Yeah.
A broken fingernail?
A fucking mosquito sting?
Oh my gosh. Don't get me started on mosquitoes. But anyway. But because of the way she was found, they assumed she had just died of natural causes. And later, bruising on her neck was discovered. She was assaulted and strangled and zipped back into her sleeping bag. Skin cells found under her fingernails.
Oh.
So she put up a fight.
Good for her.
She did put up a fight. They held on to those skin cells, of course, because that's where they get their DNA evidence. The camp counselors contaminated the crime scene by cleaning up camp, or, things got lost or, misplaced, because they thought she had died of natural causes. So there, you know what I mean? At first glance, what are you doing? Like,
and it was so far back. It was so far back. I mean, that wasn't really like a thing, like CSI wasn't really a thing at the time, to where they're like, don't touch shit.
I know.
And then, like you said, like, they thought it was natural causes. So they're just like, everybody just go back to chores.
63. So that's a ways back. The day she was found, a tip came in that a guy at a bus stop with scratches on his face was there. So shortly after, they're like, well, hey, this guy came into town. He's got scratches on his face. He's at a bus stop. So they bring him in. Multiple people had come forward and had actually confessed to killing this 16-year-old girl.
I don't get that shit. I
don't
really
get
don't
that
why
either.
People do that.
I don't either. I don't know if it's mental instability, or maybe they figure, well, heck, I need the help. Get me out of, you know what I mean?
But that doesn't help. It hurts everything.
Doesn't help. It hurts the case. So they reopened her case in 2007.
Okay.
When they did that cold case, because it was a cold case, they had sent her information, all the DNA evidence that they had, the fingernail scrapings and everything.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't hear anything. 2019 rolls around, still nothing. Well, the beginning of 2020, of course, we were all in a pandemic.
Nothing else to do.
Nothing else to
do.
Some
shit.
So, 2020, 56 years later, they matched James Raymond Taylor's DNA to her case. He was last seen in the 70s.
Last seen in the 70s?
That was the last time they can't find him. They couldn't find him.
What? Like, homeboy just vanished? Or maybe he became a fucking cold case somewhere?
Yep.
I hope he became a cold case somewhere.
He was in his early 20s when Peggy had died. In 76, he was in Vegas. So,
damn.
That
all
was
kinds
like
of shit could have happened in
10
Vegas.
years later. Exactly. When he was in Las Vegas, they still couldn't track him down. But they have his DNA evidence that proves he is the one that killed her. So again, another case that they can prove, but they can't prosecute.
See, that's the thing though too, is that, like, if you get in trouble anymore, they take your DNA. Like, they take it and they automatically put it in the system.
So to see if you have any.
If you have any connections anywhere. Or just to hold it for future reference. So something had to have happened to him, or he just must have stopped doing the shit that he was doing, because they should have caught him already.
There was a time where, they like I said, when they knew he was in Vegas, at one point in time, he had gotten arrested.
Okay.
They did say that, he had gotten arrested. It slipped up. I think it was something small.
Right.
At the time, of course, but they let him go.
Fuck.
That boggles my mind as well, because with, like, Ted Bundy, that man had been stopped how many times?
Yes.
Matched the description of himself.
Yes.
And nothing was done. Just, okay, be on your way.
This sounds like some LAPD bullshit. Because they're always fucking lacking on shit. They have been forever.
Don't even get me started on Long Beach. They do not know how to work.
Yeah.
Anyways. Sorry, forgive me. My allergies have got my nose going a little kooky. All right. So my number one case.
Because of how much bullshit this is.
Oh, no. Thank you, baby. Love having a teenage son. Give me that, please. And my kid's so helpful. Sure, Ma. But The number one case that I have is Christopher Alvin Daly.
Mm.
He was 26 years old, April 26th of 1995 in Huntsville, Alabama, which isn't too far from me, to be honest with you.
Uh-oh.
Maybe 30 minutes. Give me a brief second. Hold my phone for me.
You got a teenage tripod now.
Right? Pardon me. Ugh, allergies suck in Georgia. All right.
Oh, I bet.
Well, that, and I am sitting next to my pretty flowers. So I'm kind of what's that word? Glutton for punishment, or
glutton for punishment? Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, glutton. There you go.
You're like, but they're so pretty at you. I just can't help but touch them.
They're so pretty. All right, my ADD has kicked in. Let me get back to focusing. All right. Again, he was 26 years old on April 26th of 1995. His body was found in an abandoned logging road by two teenagers.
Oh, wow.
One gunshot wound to the head. His 1983 tan Toyota Tercel.
Oh God, I remember those cars.
Right. Was found, but when they found his car, there was a rock that was on the gas pedal.
Ooh.
In the water. So he was partially in the water with a gunshot wound to his head.
Ooh.
He was on the road with the gunshot wound, but his vehicle was halfway submerged in the water with a rock on the gas pedal.
Yeah.
He was last seen at an employee meeting for the hotel he worked at. No suspects, no clues, nothing ever emerged. Lo and behold, November 18th of 2020, this guy comes in and says, I want to confess to a crime.
Is this another one of those jackasses just saying it to say it? Don't break my heart.
No. This one, this is the right one. Yeah.
Okay.
We're good. He goes, I want to confess to a crime I did. I think it was in the 80s.
I think it was in the 80s. I don't know. It's been so long. I've done so much shit in between then. I just totally forgot. It could have been in the 80s.
Right. So the detective working the case, or, speaking to him, says, okay, well, I'm going to test your behind. Make sure you're not one of those fakers that just want to take notoriety for something they didn't do. So I still don't understand that, like we said before.
Yeah.
But he tested him. 53-year-old Johnny Dwight Whited.
Okay.
He was 28 at the time of Christopher's death.
Mm-hmm.
He was terminally ill and wanted to make peace and clear his conscience because he had stage 4 lung cancer.
How nice. How sweet.
So,
I'm going to say something because I'm dying and I feel guilty and I don't want to die with this on my conscience. How fucking
exactly.
Nice.
So he confesses to this and ends up dying like 4 months after they start like the process. So again, Mother Trucker confesses to it.
And totally gets out of it. Like, what a bullshit move. Wow.
See what I mean about this judicial system that
I guess,
rely so heavily on? At the same time, I really don't. I give them the respect. Don't get me wrong. There are some good ones out there. Do not get me wrong.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But at the same time, the bad outweighs that little bit of good sometimes.
Yeah, and that's
I hate to say it.
Yeah, it happens in a lot of different, situations too.
Situations, everything.
And what is it? It's like one bad apple to ruin the bunch. It's like the other apples are really good, but this one shitty ass apple is just fucking it up for everything. But I mean, I guess the only good thing you can say about that situation is at least that there was some closure in it.
For the family. I'll give them that, because that last case, they had absolutely no evidence.
Yeah.
Even though he had a bullet in his head, How they had no evidence or nothing boggles my mind.
You know what? And that's crazy, because there are some true crime cases out there where there is absolutely nothing. I mean, just like the one I was talking about, there was no I mean, other than the semen sample, there was nothing. There was nothing. They weren't even related to one another, other than the fact that he had just, corralled horses down the road from her. There was no link. There was no witnesses to anything. There was nothing. They had absolutely
even
nothing.
The one girl, her own cousin is the one that killed her.
Mm-hmm. That's a fucking
family member.
twist.
See, that to me, that's something I would want to know about my family.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Everybody's doing these ancestry things. Just keep that tied in. Even if they just put it on there, DNA evidence linked this person to this crime.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what you have in your bloodline.
Yeah.
That's important to know, because granted, even if it's just a simple, they flipped out and killed somebody.
Right.
At least you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's a lot of families out there. Not going to name any names, but I'm sure you get where I'm going with it. They keep secrets.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do that crap.
Yeah, absolutely. They keep secrets for different reasons too. It's because they don't want their name tarnished or their family name tarnished. They don't want to be associated with that. It's like, you got to give up your ego at some point and know that you're helping protect yourself and other people, whether it's your family or people outside of your family.
It could also have been that that person had a mental breakdown, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But now you know that there's a case of mental something in your family.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's why I think that even if somebody is deceased, something somewhere should state, yes, they're deceased, but they are connected to this.
Mm-hmm.
How and why, then you can discuss it with your family members. But at the same time, it's just, and I get it, people don't want to live in the past.
Right. But
guess what? If you don't remember the past, you're doomed to repeat it.
Yeah. You affect the future, man. And that, that's how they, I guess in some cases, they kind of have no choice but to know whether or not it runs in their family. Like, Joseph DeAngelo, the Golden State Killer, who they caught in 2018, they caught him through, I want to say it was a nephew.
Yeah.
Because a nephew had submitted his DNA to one of these sites. And then they're like, hey, we have a link to this person in California. And then they were like, I believe he was a person of interest at that time or at some point during the whole case. So they started watching him and they waited. They said he was he was all lively. You seemed like a healthy, normal, older guy. He was moving just fine. His cognitive health was good. His overall health, yada, yada, was just great. He was fine. They waited till he dumped some stuff in the trash and I think they took a cup or a Coke can or something out of the trash. It's been so long.
DNA, yeah.
With his DNA on it, because at that point, it's no longer your property. It's like the county property. Like your trash, when it goes off of when it goes out of your property and onto the sidewalk, it is no longer your property.
That's what I love living out in the country. I ain't got to do
your
that.
Shit. Yeah.
It's still mine because I take it myself to the dump.
Yeah. And what was crazy though is that after they caught Joseph DeAngelo, all of a sudden he started to pretend like he was this frail old man that I don't know what you're talking about. My cognitive health is just horrible and blah, 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 blah. But they caught him through an ancestor. And a case like that whole family knows. There's no way they're not going to know about this shit forever. Because it was so prolific. That whole family is never going to not live that down. They're not ever going to get rid of that. It is what it is.
It is what it is. And I hate to say that, but if you do something wrong, you should have to pay a price for it.
Yeah.
Whether it's, you stress yourself out and just think you're the world's biggest piece of crap for something small. But then if you do something bad enough to where you're hurting others, I'm sorry, there's very little excuses that will surpass. And even those, it's kind of iffy because folks tend to become Academy Award winners. when it means saving their behind.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I get what you're saying. And some of it just boggles my mind too, because a lot of these, I can't say a lot of them, but a lot of them, they have no sense of remorse. Like, I don't know how familiar you are with BTK.
Oh yeah,
but
very
he
much
totally
so.
like sucked it up, lived it up. Like, he disgusts me. Like BTK,
Narcissistic.
absolutely, yes,
narcissistic.
Yeah.
I have.
Dennis Rader is like one of the biggest piece of shits that ever lived. Like, he is so disgusting because he was just like, oh yeah, and like so matter of fact, and I'm just gonna, you know, just nonchalant, just tell you about it and just narrate whatever, like it just, like he has absolutely no remorse, and
None.
he tried to get away with it as much as he could, but he was so, like said, narcissistic. He couldn't lay it down. He had to keep doing it and doing it, and he wanted the notoriety for it, and he just
had to have that. That was all he was after, to be honest with you, was that notoriety, that moment to be the center of everything.
Yeah, and he was
most narcissists are that way.
Yeah.
And if they aren't that way, they will make it that way.
Yeah.
Whether you want them to or not, they are the greatest storytellers. They are the greatest. Like, it boggles my mind to me.
Yeah. And he was so very unoriginal about it too, because he wanted to take from every other serial killer and then act like he knew them on a fucking personal level. It's like, you are just a piece of shit. Just stop it already, you piece of shit. I want to punch that man in the face so fucking bad. It's not even funny.
There's a few that I want to do that too. But,
oh my God.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all I have for this week, and
that's all I had was the one, because you told me you did 5, but I didn't know if you were gonna do all 5 or if you just found 5.
I wasn't sure if we had. I was like, well, since we got the time, I might as well just go with it. Because again, like I said, most of those stories or those cases, very little details were given.
Yeah.
But the YouTube video that I watched that had them all in there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, the person she was talking way too fast. I had to like stop and pause every like 10 seconds just so I could get down some notes. And I'm like,
she had 3 cups of coffee too.
Maybe some math on the side. Maybe some math on the side.
Her name was
I don't know. She was. Oh
my God.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord.
My big kitty.
I hear him.
His brother. He yells. He demands loving. But
meow. Freaking cats are crazy.
But yep, piggies have been fed. They're sleeping back that way in their pen.
Oh, piggies are awesome.
Miserable. He's mama's baby. As big as he is, he probably weighs as much as I do, if not more.
Oh, really?
And he's mini pig. I feed my babies. I feed my babies. Yeah. Mr. Bo is a Cooney mix. Miss Poe is a Julian. So if you go to a fancy restaurant, you have nice pork chops, you're getting a Julian pig. Just the breed, the breed of her.
I love piggies, but I can't bring myself to get one because I've always wanted one of those teacup piglets. But I know they're not really
small. That's what Bo is. That's what Bo is. That's what
they're not small like they tell you they're gonna be. It's a fucking
they trick you. A lot of what I call those are the greeters, not the breeders, but the greeters.
They want
they won't get above this weight. They won't get above this weight. Pigs eat.
Yeah.
Even if you don't feed them, they will be rutting up, getting earthworms, whatever.
Dude, they'll eat a person. Literally, they will eat a fucking person. We know about that. Yeah, you're like, you're like, I'm not admitting to nothing, but
not saying a word. I'm just gonna do my mini me look.
No, but there are true crime cases where pigs have eaten. They've been fed to pigs, and it's freaking nuts. I love pigs, not because of that reason, but pigs are fucking cool. They're smart as shit. Pigs. But I like
they're smarter than dogs. I can tell my pig to sit, and she will sit.
Dude,
Mr. Bo, when he was little, I just do hand signals. This was sit, up was stand. And if he wanted a treat, I would tell him to sit like this. And he'd stick his snout in the air like, okay, where's my food? And I'd give him a grape or an apple slice or a banana slice. You know, my pigs are spoiled. They get fresh fruit.
Now, do you still eat? Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yes, we still eat bacon and pork.
Do you ever
However,
Yeah, no, fuck no.
Because they're not my babies. My babies are in the pen. Those are meant for eating.
You're like, don't make eye contact with the pig while you're eating a meal. So you're like,
hey, they're down at the pen all day long. They don't see me eating. Now, I will confess, when Bo Bacon was a little piglet.
No.
Boba was little. He was in the house. I'm talking, he was the size of my cup. Like, not very big at all. Maybe 5 pounds. He was having a rough time eating. Like, I couldn't keep his food wet enough for him.
No.
So I was eating Vienna sausages, not thinking about it.
Oh my God.
Because the cats, when I eat my Vienna sausage, I pour the juices over their food.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe that'll work. Oh my God, I've never seen that pig eat so quick.
Oh,
he loved it. And I was like, I looked at the can afterwards and I'm like, oh my God. Oh no, I didn't just do that.
Should have named him Hannibal. Hannibal the Cannibal.
Oh, we love our Kevin Bobo Bacon though. He started, I got a hummingbird. Oh, it just flew away. Oh, and it's back. It's dirt all over my front yard. It's going crazy. But yeah, he started out as Bacon Bits, and then he became Kevin Bobo Bacon.
Kevin Bacon. Kevin Bobo Bacon.
Kevin Bobo Bacon. And then we got Miss Popanda. And a while back, there used to be a commercial for, I want to say, insurance. Mm-hmm. And it was the car that was or the pothole that was talking. And it said, oh my God, did I do that? That's Miss Poe's voice. I'm sorry, my pretty girl, that's the way she talked. That's all. You know, a little Southern belle, like, oh my God, did I do that? Honey, I'm so sorry I flattened your tire.
Bless your heart, sweetie.
Bless your heart. You know, just, yeah, that's Miss Poe. Now, Mr. Bo, on the other hand, he used to be called DMX Pig.
DMX gonna give
because
it to you.
He would come out of the pen and go, oh, oh.
Nice.
Like he would bark like DMX, and I was like, oh, okay, DMX Pig, that's enough.
Oh, DMX, R.I.P. DMX. Fucking love DMX.
Much respect. Pouring some out for the homies, some water.
Yeah. Well, I got Dr. Pepper's. Oh.
Ice water. I will drink ice water all day long.
I hate water.
Probably. Oh, Sienna, I love it. I love it.
Drink some for me, darling.
I will, just for you.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. I think that's gonna wrap it up for us this week. That was a good show. I like the stories that you brought. That was really good.
Awesome. I'm glad. I liked them too.
I mean, they were like shitty endings. So
they're shitty endings, but at the same time, there at least is some closure for the family to find out who actually done it. And technology
is amazing, and it's scary really at the same time.
It's very scary because God only knows what's next.
Oh God, Elon Musk and his AI bullshit. I fucking hate Elon Musk. I'm gonna say that right now. If anybody's known me from any other shows that I've been on, I hate Elon Musk and the technology that he has created and started because it's bullshit. And I think that our planet is going to turn into like a Wall-E with a cloudy with a chance of meatballs combined kind of deal.
Yeah.
Like that's how I feel. It's like all the food's just generated out of nothing basically.
And so just like falls on your head.
Yeah. But we get all this lab grown
big as the car.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But it's like
world hunger would be solved.
That is true. But we're getting all this lab grown food that's just going to get it like, we're not getting anything natural and organic anymore.
Exactly.
And then our planet is just getting so decimated to the point where we're trying to move off of this planet. So it's kind of like Wall-E and Cloudy with a chance of meatballs. That's just my theory. That's my theory. I'm sure I'm completely wrong, but that's just my theory of where we're going.
I can see it. I can see it happening, unfortunately.
Jesus. Well, you guys make sure to follow us on all of our platforms. We're on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook. If you just like to do the audio, we're on Iheart Radio, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts. We're pretty much almost on any platform that you can think of. We're on. Still waiting on Pandora. I know Pandora is quite a bit of wait to get on there, but I'll see what's going on with that today, I suppose. And you guys make sure you like, follow, subscribe, share to your mama, share to your grandma, share to your daddy, share to your neighbor. We appreciate it. Everybody, share to everybody.
So. And please, if you watch our videos or our podcasts or listen to us, I do weekly pictures for the cases that we're doing that week that we're going to be discussing. Please don't hesitate to put comments in there. I love talking to you guys. I am a talkative person. I will talk your ear off probably, but feel free to put those guesses and anything you guys got to say. You guys want to give us some ideas for shows? Feel free. You know, we're pretty open-minded when it comes to that kind of stuff. So,
and there's so much stuff to cover. I mean,
so much
stuff to cover, and there's so much stuff that we haven't discovered or heard of yet. That hey, if you guys share it to us, we'll gladly fucking check it out and cover the story on it, because this shit's just fascinating. It's just insane. It's just insane how people work.
Definitely.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you guys for joining us so much. We really appreciate it. And we will be back next Saturday with another episode. You guys make sure, like she said, go over there to Instagram and follow the clues so you guys can win a prize.
Yes, win a prize. We got a few little things that we can do, and like I said, the more the guesses, the better it'll be. The funner it'll be.
All right, guys. Thank you again for joining the Devil Made Me Do It podcast. I'm your host, Joe.
And Dizzy.
And we will see you guys next Saturday. Bye.
Bye.